Hey everyone, it is Jamie Jill Wright here with Mad Lit Musings, and I'm coming to you with a dear good friend of mine, Kristi Ann Hunter. Hey, Kristi.
Hello.
I mean, can I have any cheesier of an intro? Hi, Kristi.
Hi, Jamie.
I'm so glad. I always hate the introduction part because it's so unnatural. I'm like the type of person that
Yes.
walks into some coffee shop and go, "Hey, how's it going?" I
Yes.
think every
Well,
podcast should start like that.
it should, but when I was podcasting, which I'm not anymore because my
Mhm.
partner decided she needed like a full-time job kind of thing.
What's that?
But we recorded the intro because we would spend like 5 minutes every time we went to record trying to open the thing. And so we just made a canned recording that started every show so that we could just then jump in and start talking.
Yeah, and see, I kind of have a little one with the stupid little guitar music because it's stock and I didn't have to pay for it and
Yes.
everything. But it's
Uh-huh.
not where, that's a good idea. I should just do that. Like get
We
more.
had the cheesy stock music behind it and everything, and like
Yeah.
we sat like for like 20 minutes and we recorded this canned intro, and it was like that was what it was every time so
Every
that we
time.
could stop thinking about it. Yes.
I might need to redo that for season 4. But anyway, hey, welcome to the show.
Hey.
Okay, so let's just hop right to it because you just had a book release, right? It's out
I
on
did.
shelves.
Yes, I had a book release and discovered that July is a terrible time to release a book.
Really?
So we're calling it, it really is, because especially because I ended up releasing it on July 4th because I was like, I'll do the first Tuesday of the month thing,
Oh.
like we normally do.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently that's because that's July 4th and freedom and woohoo. Like everybody decides to give away free books on July the 4th.
Oh.
So it was like, yes, now look at all these free books. Now buy mine.
You're getting emails. You're like, oh, no, 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 no. It's not
Yes.
free. No, no,
So
no,
I've
no, no.
decided that was the soft launch. The
That was your
soft
homage.
launch.
That was your homage to the old country and the fact that we still have to
Yes.
pay
And
for
so
things.
so so we're gonna like I'm gonna be like, hey look, because when the audiobook comes out in August, I'm gonna be like, no, this is the real launch. Now it's fully available. Buy it now.
I love it. I love it. Well, then you get to have 2 launches. So I mean it's fun. A soft launch, a hard launch. Then you can relaunch it again when you get the large print version and
Like
just
what
keep just keep
I'll just
going.
keep launching it. Like, oh no, you just thought it was all out, but wait,
Right.
there's more. I'll be like the infomercial. But
Yeah.
wait, there's more.
And you get a free squeegee with every purchase of 5 copies.
Wow.
Gosh, Kristi, you're so good at this. Now, I know a lot of readers who are familiar with you are probably thinking in their mind Regency because
Yes.
your last several books, at least, were Regency. This is
13 of them.
13. Okay, I wasn't sure if you had done all in
Yes.
Regency or not. Okay.
Yes.
So this is a foray into a different genre for
It
you.
is
Tell
very, very
us.
different. Like about as different as it gets.
Do tell.
So this is contemporary rom-com,
Mhm.
and it's in first person and it's present tense.
Whoa.
So it's about as different as it gets. It is still dual POV. There's still the hero
Yeah.
and the heroine. Both have a POV in it, but I just needed. I found myself. I was in a rut.
Okay.
Like I was writing kind of the same things
Mm,
over and over again because it's Regency. You have balls and carriage rides and parties and things, and you kind of regurgitate that in different ways because it's Regency.
what else did you do
And
in
that's what you do. And
1730?
I was feeling very I felt like I was copying myself some.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I need a fresh look. And I've always loved contemporary. Um Before I was published, I was kind of toying back and forth on do I want to write Regency or do I want to write contemporary? Kind of want to write both. And
Yeah.
everybody told me you can't do that. So when I decided to become independent and do my own publishing, I was like, well, nobody can tell me I can't do that now.
It's really kind of funny. I mean, we start out talking about the 4th of July and homage to Britain, and now you've become independent. So you had your own little revolution going on there.
I had my own little revolution, independent with a contemporary that is set in the United States. So
I love it. Oh, before we
Like
get
it's
off,
about as different as it gets.
yeah, before we get off on that, I have to tell you, this is my big confession of the year. So everybody just get your pens and pencils, write this down. Jamie Joe's confessing. I, about 2 years ago, was stuck on reading Regency, right? That was like all I was reading.
Yeah.
And I started not thinking, but getting frustrated because I'm like, everything's in England. It's all in England. So I started doing Google searches for Regency romance set in the United States, and I couldn't find any. And I couldn't figure out why. And then I started studying, and I'm like, oh, because Regency is England.
It is.
There
It
is
only took place
no.
in England.
Then that's why we don't have it in the United States.
Yeah, it was a very English thing.
Yes.
Um, it's not like, I mean, you think about other time periods like the Industrial Revolution
Right.
and things like that, and those were a little more global.
Right.
But
Right.
the Regency, very, very localized, very short, very
Hmm.
specific time frame, which makes it very interesting that it's become such a well
Yeah.
well written genre.
Yeah,
uh,
exactly.
because
But
it's so small and specific.
But that's not where we're going to land today. We're going to
No.
land in an entirely different genre. We're in
Yes.
rom-com, which for those who aren't familiar with rom-com, it's basically romantic comedy, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And what's present tense for those who aren't up on their
So
tenses?
present tense means that theoretically, like the characters are experiencing it with you.
Mhm.
So it's like I walk into the room. Like it's kind of like you are doing it with them in that moment. They don't know what's going to happen next. Whereas in third person, you can kind of foreshadow what's coming later because they're talking
Mhm.
like or past tense, sorry.
Right, right.
Past tense,
Past tense.
they can kind of foreshadow because they've already lived it and now they're
Mhm.
telling it, behind. But when you're present tense, it's like you are doing it in the moment with them. And I
When
wanted
it's
it to
happening.
just kind of be as in the moment as you can, like as much of an experience as you can get.
Okay,
So
that's cool. So first of all, tell us the title and then just, do the question that every author loves. Give us a short synopsis on what the story's about.
I hate that
I
question.
know, I
I
do
hate it
too,
so
but
much.
I'm going to ask it anyway.
So it's called Pixels and Paint. And the story of it is that there's this girl, she's a computer programmer, and she has kind of structured this life where she tries to make everybody in her life very, very happy. She's very much of a people pleaser. Um, and in order to make this one group happy, her family, she has to, manage to do this thing that she really hates completely. But she finds this guy who can help her, but he hates everything technology, or he's like not a technology person.
Oh, yeah.
And and he's a painter. And so she needs his help in order to make people happy. And he actually needs her help because he's kind of like stuck in his creative rut and he finds her like creatively interesting. So he's getting all these ideas. So they're using each other, but they actually don't like each other because he makes her have to like blend all these worlds together. And she's made this very carefully crafted world of never shall these people even meet each other. But he's making all these worlds blend
Yeah,
and so over time, over the course of the book, they discover that when they remove their walls and actually open their world up bigger and let themselves be themselves, they can make a broader life together.
that sounds like fun. Sounds like there's a lot of opportunity for witty banter when you have the
Oh
whole
yes, all the
"I'm
witty
not
banter.
so into you at all" type of personality.
There's a lot of witty banter because there's this whole thing of he's trying to teach her how to appreciate art and she doesn't.
Yeah, yeah, I've been in those scenarios with my own spouse before, and those are some interesting side cynical sarcastic comments that can get stated in those moments.
Yes. Yeah, there's one scene where he's trying to get her to feel the energy of this one painting, like get the
Mhm.
emotion of this one painting, and she's like, "What's this sad?" He's like, "What do you see when you look at this painting?" And she goes, "The woman is sad." And he's like, like the name of the the painting is actually like in French, and it's like the depressed woman in French,
Yeah, so
and she goes, "So she's a sad French woman." Done.
Done. Yeah. Like, what more are
Like,
we gonna
look,
read
I
into
win.
this?
She's sad and she's rich. I win. Art appreciation.
Blue ribbon for art appreciation.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. So did you bring in a lot of actual art then? Or was it more like
There's a few pieces. A lot of it is the fictitious pieces that he himself paints,
okay.
um, which I made up. And people are going to be like, "I want to see this painting. It sounds amazing." I'm like, "Doesn't it though? That's because it's in my head.
It does not exist.
It does not exist." Um, so most of it is his work.
Okay.
Which is fictitious, or
Yeah.
there's a side character that's also a painter who
Mhm.
makes some amazing works that people have been like, "I want to see this." I'm like, "Wouldn't that be something?" It also does not exist.
You'll have to commission an artist to like retroactively paint these
I don't
paintings.
know. Like, so the side character, he does this blend of like realism and abstract. It's
Ooh.
very, very bizarre. Of things like it'll be like a realistic chicken with this abstract like frying pan over it, like trying to make some kind of philosophical statement. So I don't really think anybody's gonna actually want to paint that.
You might be surprised. People could find a lot of meaning in a chicken with a frying pan over it just because there's so much spiritual application there. I mean, think about the spiritual application, you know?
All I can think about is dinner.
Yeah, well, I am the bread of life. Yeah, I'm going to stop because I'm going to be twisting scripture in places that should not be twisted. So let's just not go there. But
But it's so easy to do.
it is. It is. Speaking of scripture, is this considered Christian rom-com or general market or just clean fiction
So
or?
it is. I'm still calling it Christian fiction just because people tend to get mad if you don't stick that on there,
Yeah.
and the people will actually have faith that they live by and make
Hmm.
decisions by. So, um, so by that way, it's a Christian rom-com because the characters have their faith that's very
Hmm.
important to them, and they make decisions based on that and are
Sure.
making life choices based on that.
Right.
And,
Right.
you know, things like they're not being physically intimate because they're not married because
Dun dun
their
dun.
faith says not to do that.
Sure.
So, elements of that, people get really mad if you don't put Christian in front of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
You have that stuff in there. So, yes, it is a Christian rom-com. This
Hmm.
particular one does not have there's not a lot of Bible quoting or
Yeah.
anything going on in there, just because it didn't fit with the story.
Right. Right.
So I always try to keep my theological content very organic as far as like how much does this
Yeah.
story actually need.
Right.
My last book had so many Bible verses that I put a concordance in the back. Yes.
It is kind of interesting though. I don't think people realize that within Christian fiction that one of the reasons, and maybe I'm just the only one that's noticed this, but one of the reasons some Christian fiction books by a particular author will have lots of scripture references, and then others that they write will almost seem like they didn't even bring God into it. And that can bother readers
Mhm,
sometimes, but sometimes the story, you're almost forcing some
mhm.
sort of spirituality into it or some sort of message that is it otherwise coming out through just the character's life.
It is. So what I've always said is that I don't write Christian stories. I write stories about Christians. Is kind
Mm,
of how I've always said it. And
yep.
I think about in my life, I mean, like I do my Bible study every day and like I'm praying and
Hmm.
I'm doing things, but there's also a lot of things I do in life where I don't stop every moment and go, what is the verse that applies to this decision? What is some
You
of it
don't
is
do that?
I don't actually. Um, Sometimes I trust that God has been forming me into a person
Right.
that can make certain decisions.
Right.
Like that's why I do the daily Bible study. That's why I do
Hmm.
the studies at the sermon church, like go to and listen to the sermons and
Yeah.
things so that God can make me into the type of person who can go to the grocery store without having to pray down every aisle.
Right.
Um, so
Lord, should
I
I buy
think that
Kraft macaroni and cheese or should I buy the generic macaroni and cheese? I'm not sure which one. Tell me now.
show me a sign, Lord. But I think there's areas of our life where we do more particular study on certain things, and then there's areas of our life where we don't. And I
Yeah.
think books and stories reflect that,
Hmm. Hmm.
or at least they should.
They do. And I agree with you 100%. So, okay. So we have romantic comedy. It's clean fiction for people who are listening. So they're not going to be going, my sensibilities, I've been assaulted.
No, no, there is a joke about a condom. I will I
Oh
will
boy.
I will throw that one
Man,
out there.
man. That's all right. Well, you know what? After 13 Regency novels, where I'm sure even the most proper of lady would not joke about that, we can give you a
Well,
little
her
bit of license.
sister is not a Christian.
Aha. But that's true to
So her
form.
sister's helping her get ready for a date and thinks she needs one of these because she's going on a date. Yeah,
That
so
would be an
there's
interesting
a whole thing.
conversation. Yeah. Okay, now I gotta read
There's
the
a whole
book.
thing because
Yeah.
the sister is not a Christian. Um, so yeah, there's a whole thing.
Yes. There's comedy in everything, really.
There's comedy and everything, and I actually did before I wrote this. I had several conversations with some current single 20 somethings
Okay.
because I've been married 20 years. I was
Ah,
like, do you know how long it's been since I knew anything at all about the contemporary dating scene? Like
yeah.
zero. And I got married right out of college. So I never really ever did the dating scene thing,
Hmm.
you know?
Hmm.
So I was like, if I'm going to write this, I need to make sure, excuse me.
Go for it.
If I'm gonna write this, I need to make sure I write it correctly. I
Yeah.
want someone who is 27 to be able to pick it up and go, "Yes. Oh my gosh, yes, this is my life."
Yeah,
I wanted
exactly.
them to see a realistic representation of
Right.
what they have to go through
Right.
in their life. So
Yep.
I did a lot of talking to a lot of 20 something singles, um, to say like, "Okay, what are you experiencing? What are you like, what are some certain things?"
Hmm.
And it just felt like there needed to be some acknowledgement of that pressure
Yeah.
that they get
Yeah.
from their friends or from their family or whatever that don't understand. No, I've decided I'm going to wait until marriage. They
Hmm.
get that weird pressure
Yeah.
um to not, because it doesn't make sense
Right.
to anyone who hasn't made that decision. So I felt there needed to be some acknowledgement of that in the book, and so we just did it in a very funny way because why not?
Why not?
It's comedy.
Well, sometimes comedy does let you though cross into places that are otherwise awkward or not, I don't want to say not acceptable, but not typically talked about,
Yes, and I
especially
think
in the
comedy
Christian.
is yes, comedy is a
Yeah.
great door opener.
Yeah.
Um, if you can make people laugh, you can talk about anything.
Hmm.
And you see this in comedians, if you watch a lot of stand-up comedy, they can say things that nobody else would ever get away with saying.
Hmm.
Like, you can't. Comedy is such a great door opener. It's
Right.
fabulous.
Right. I think comedy is funny partially because of the shock appeal. It's a
Mhm.
different, somebody said to me last week that comedy and horror are really on the same plane. We just don't realize it because it's the
I can
shock
see that.
factor. It's the shock factor. Like you have horror, which is like, oh, a jump scare. And then you have comedy, which is like, oh, hilarious. Right. And both of them are shocking and they're not what you're expecting, or you're not expecting somebody to say it out loud.
I can see that very much, and also with both of them, the closer they are to the truth,
Hmm.
the more impactful they are.
Very true.
So if you make a joke that's very, very true, but it's just looked at some truth just a little bit sideways,
Hmm.
a little bit askew, but it's true, just look at it a little different way,
Hmm.
then it's funnier. Like
Right.
the truer it is, the funnier it is.
Right.
And I don't read horror because I like to sleep at night. But
But you read
I could
comedy.
I do. I could see the same thing being true for horror because
Right.
the closer it is to
Hmm.
something that's truth, that's believable, the more impactful it's going to
Right.
be
Right.
with whatever you're trying to say.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a place for both of them,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
all of that. But I like the comedy aspect because you can actually sleep afterwards. I
Yes.
mean, I do. I think comedy is important from that standpoint too. I mean, as silly as it sounds to one degree, I think comedy is important for mental health because they say laughter is the best medicine.
Yes.
And I went through a period where I was having like, just lots of health issues and lots of anxiety, panic attacks caused from a random amount of issues. But what we ended up doing was switching all of our television/movie watching from the typical intense thrillers that I gravitate toward, and we shifted it all to comedy. And my sleep patterns just became so much more relaxed and healthy, and
Yes.
even my mental health through the day, just from what I was inputting, was different.
Yes. So what you're saying is when your readers say I lost sleep at night, it's not always it's not always a good thing.
No, it's not always a good thing. But see, my problem is when my readers say that, I'm like, really? You thought that was scary? Oh, honey, I dialed it so far back.
See, when my readers say I didn't sleep at night, it's because they couldn't stop reading.
Right, right. No, mine are like, because they're biting their fingernails and they're afraid to put their feet on the floor for fear the boogeyman's going to hop out and grab their ankles. But
No, but I think that's also one of those things where it's very important to know yourself because
yeah.
there can be seasons that depending on what's like if your real life is super stressful,
Mm-hmm.
you need to make sure that at that time your escapism is not adding more stress
Right.
to your system. And so it's really important to know yourself. And so it's really and know how you process things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I have to be super careful what I watch, like all the cop procedurals and
Mm-hmm.
things. I can't watch any of them because I'll be fine in the moment, like watching the show. Like I can even laugh, I can enjoy it, I can watch the show. But then when I go to bed that night,
Mm-hmm.
it's like every creak in the house, like the air conditioner will be come on, and I'm convinced that I'm about to be gruesomely murdered like the person in the show. Like there's no convincing me otherwise at 1 o'clock in the morning when the air conditioner comes on. So I just know I can't watch them
Yeah.
because the after effect of how I
Right.
process it.
Right.
And so, I think that's the beautiful thing about having so many variety of
Yeah.
books and stuff. Because
Mm-hmm.
I've had even friends come up and be like, I'm sorry, I'm not reading your books." I'm like, "Okay,
Right.
that's fine."
Right. Yeah, I've had quite a few people apologize too for not reading my books, and I'm like, I didn't expect you to. Like, it's not like I have
No,
a
like
list of
it's
friends
not
going, they've
for
read it.
yes, and it's not for everybody,
No,
you
it's
know.
not. It's not.
Um, I have one of my kids has read about half of my books. And the other one, I have another kid that's like, "Yay, mommy's an author."
Mm-hmm.
Never opened one. Like,
Yep. That's both my kids. They're like, yay,
yes.
mommy's an author. My daughter's like, but I like her latest thing is, but I like Pepper Basham so much better. She goes, she's a walking billboard for everybody who's not in my genre. It's great. I love it.
Yes. So my son actually read Paint and Pixels and
Okay.
Paint. He actually read it before any of my other kids, which is funny because it's actually dedicated to my oldest
Okay.
child, who will probably never
Never
open
read
it
it.
ever. Um, she is a fantasy girl all the way. Like
Got
it
it.
doesn't have swords and dragons, she's not there.
Yeah.
But yeah, but my son actually read it because he wanted to find all the things that he could recognize from our real life because it was contemporary. So like,
Yeah.
watch,
Yeah.
you know,
All
he
the
just
little
wanted to
Easter
find
eggs.
all he wanted to find all of the real life things that had worked their
Mm-hmm.
way into the book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love that. I love that. Okay. So the book is about a 27 single something,
Yes.
basically what that is. So
Yes, she's
is it
27 and he is 30, I think.
okay. Okay. So it's a great book for those individuals too that are kind of in that mid 20ish, where am I
Yeah.
going in life? Is things gonna go the way I
Yeah.
was
So
thinking or
they're established enough that they have careers, they have their own living spaces, you know,
you know,
they have some lives and stuff, but they're not so established that they know what the future that there's still a
mhm.
question of what's the future going to hold. I don't know.
Right. Right.
You know, and I think that's so many people now. Like
Yeah.
they're coming out of college, they're getting these jobs, they're getting apartments because nobody can afford houses. And
Right.
um so they're getting apartments and they're sitting there and they're setting up this life and then they're all sitting there going, "Okay, now what?
Hmm.
What do we do now?"
Right.
And that seemed to be kind of a general consensus from a lot of the ones that I talked to because um for me at
Hmm.
least I don't know when you got married. I got married right out of college, and so did my whole family.
Yeah.
So it's like it's always just been kind of like, okay, it's been college, marriage, like start career, start family, like it's all just
Uh-huh.
been like set up there. And I think that's happening less and less. That
Yeah.
that marriage and family component has been pushed older.
Right.
And so there's this time period of, well, what do we do now?
Mm-hmm.
What do we do now?
Right.
And I think for both of these characters, there's an element of that trying to figure out this balancing act of, well, I'm still trying to keep my family happy
Mm-hmm.
because that's what I did as a kid.
Right.
Um, but I'm also trying to make myself happy because I'm not a kid
Right.
anymore. Um, but what does that look like?
Mm-hmm.
What do I even want
Right.
out of life now? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So there's definitely an element of that, which sounds very deep and serious. Um, but the book doesn't have to be deep and
Well, and
serious.
I think that's what's fun though, again, about comedy, because it goes back to what we were saying, is like there's real things people
Mhm.
relate to, but it's being able to put it on with a spin where you can actually go, ha, ha, yeah, it's, yeah, that's
Yes.
me, and you're
In the
kind of
moment, you
laughing.
can just escape into the book. You don't have to
Yep.
think about it while you're reading. You can think about it all after it's over.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So, Kristi, how do people find your book? Where do they go? Give us all that goody good information.
Okay, so you can find anything that you want to know about me at KristiAnnHunter.com. If you go to KristiAnnHunter.com, there's links to buy the book, there's links to find me on social media, but mostly you just look for Kristi Ann Hunter. You'll usually find me
Mm,
because that's my social media handle
yeah.
just about everywhere. And that's my website. And I've got all the links to buy it. It's available currently in paperback and ebook.
Hmm.
Um, Audiobook and large print should be coming very soon.
Awesome. Awesome. Sounds good. Kristi, this was a blast having you on the show. And
Yes, thank you for having me again.
no problem. And let's do it again with your next release, which I'm sure there'll be one around the corner. I'm making a big
Yes.
assumption, but I'm
That no, I've already started. I've already started
aha.
on it
See.
because now I have to figure out my own like deadlines and
Mm-hmm.
line up editors and things, and that's a lot.
That is a lot.
It's a lot.
That's a lot, but you're gonna do great, and I'm super excited to try your new genre because I am a big Regency reader, and
So
so
and for my Regency readers, it's not going away. The next one's actually Regency. The current
oh,
plan is
awesome.
to pop back and forth.
Oh, hey, I like
So
that. I like that. So a little ping pong with Kristi Ann Hunter and
little ping
genres.
pong. So
Love it.
Regency has not gone away. If you're still like, there's all these characters and I want to know what happens, they're still there.
They're coming.
They're
All
still
right. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being here today.
there. Bye.